this is Ree here. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate everyone. Thank you so much for liking and subscribing. It really helps me a lot. And don't forget to check out my website, paradoxastrology.com. I can help you with anything. And if you would like more exclusive occult videos that I don't post on YouTube, consider subscribing to my Patreon. It also helps support this channel. Okay, let's get into this video. So a lot of people have been asking on the internet, what happened to Doja Cat? Why is she so different? Why does she seem like she completely changed recently? Well, the answer is always in astrology. I normally don't do videos about celebrities. For one, a lot of the times and the charts are not accurate. And also because I was in the music industry for a very long time, I know a lot of these artists lie about their birthdays and people don't realize that, and they make entire videos about it, and that's not their real birthday at all. Some of these birthdays are even like 5+ years off, but this one seemed to really line up of exactly what's happening, and she's young enough for that to make sense. Most of the artists that lie, they are older, and the internet wasn't as easily accessible back then, so it was easier for people to lie. So I was hearing about this and I started seeing the chart in my head, and I needed to see if I was correct. And yes, I was correct on what was happening. Okay, the major thing that's happening, there are a few major things, but the two things that stick out the most are the nodal reversal, which is also called a semi-return, and the Saturn return, but also being in a new dasha, which is chapters of your life. So we're going to explain that. Now, Ketu is your past life karma. Rahu is your current life karma. So everybody has Rahu and Ketu in their charts. Now, where they're placed, it goes back to that same position when you're 18 to 19, when you're 36 to 37, and 54 to 55. It'll always go back to that same place. But in between there, every 9 years, we have the semi-return, where they're actually opposite. So where your natal Rahu is, Ketu will be transiting there. And where your natal Ketu is, Rahu will be transiting there. This could be a very confusing time because they're opposite of what they are in your chart. So people tend to start doing actually what they did in a previous life. And we are actually supposed to go more towards Rahu instead of Ketu. Now, she already was born with Rahu in the first house. So right now, currently, and the nodes are going to change in November. So they stay in the same sign for roughly 18 months. So for the last almost 18 months, Ketu has been in her first house. Now, when Ketu goes there, you see the 1st or in the 10th, Ketu causes mass fame. If you have that in your chart, not for everybody, but if you have that already in your chart, that fame is a destined thing, it causes mass fame, but it causes mass fame to a person that does not want it. So it makes sense why the way that she's acting like she doesn't care about it. That's what happens. Also, people can feel very lost, like they lost themselves because they're getting caught up in either relationships that could have to do with romantic relationships or business relationships. Because Ketu can make us lose ourselves, especially in the first house, because we start gravitating towards what everybody else wants instead of what we want. We're trying to please everybody else. So it becomes more about the business, more about the relationship. And there could be a sort of identity crisis that can occur with many people. It's a very confusing time. Also, she has her natal sun in the first house. When Ketu is there, it can bring some issues of self-esteem. Also, she has natal Rahu with the sun, which already can do that. It can also cause to have a big ego. So we see that a lot with people that have these types of placements. Also, Ketu right now is in Chitra. Chitra creates beautiful illusions. It's all about magic. And we also have Venus in her first house, which is the 8th house lord, which is also about the occult. It's about secrets. It's about what's hidden, spiritual matters. So all this is being activated right now. So that's why you see a lot of occult imagery. Now, the other part of that, because I am very aware of all the occult practices, this is what I talk about, this is what I've witnessed being in the entertainment industry and what has led me to talk about these things. I can't say for sure because I don't know her. I don't know what's going on. But to me, from my opinion, what it does look like is that she is definitely being used for her chart. And She has a very good chart for fame, a very good chart for money. But when we have Rahu in the 7th house, people start controlling us. And if you have really good aspects of the 8th house, of the 12th house, you can definitely be used for your ability to connect with things spiritually, because the whole entertainment industry, actually the whole world, is run by occultists. So Ketu is also conjunct Gilika, and Gilika is the son of Saturn, acts like Saturn, very malefic as well. It activates a dark cloud around her. She's actually born with Gilika on the ascendant with Rahu. That can be very difficult for somebody and can make them feel a lot more down, a lot more dark. Ketu is activating that right now. So that's why you see a darker image come about. These are natural things that would happen even if she wasn't in the music industry. So not everything is because of a conspiracy, but people are used for their charts. There's no doubt in my mind that people are picked based on their charts. You wouldn't do it any other way. It doesn't make sense. Also, sometimes people are born or bred. They'll have children at specific times astrologically to create a child that is meant for the entertainment industry. And this happens in secret societies. I have a video that I did like years ago about that, how that's actually done. But I can't say if that's what's done here. I only speak on what I know. Also, Ketu recently was activating Shawtee in the 1st house, close to Venus. Venus is so close to Shawtee. Shawtee is the multi-millionaire nakshatra. That's why there's a great rise to fame, more money being made than ever. Just one of the reasons. The other reason is Jupiter being in the 7th house. That expands your business, expands your contacts, your relationships, and gives you a lot of good blessings, a lot of good luck in these areas. So it's just a great time for her career-wise. Also, January of this year was her Saturn return, and Saturn is still in there. It's going to be until 2025, I believe. So her Saturn is placed in the 5th house. The 5th house is entertainment. Now, Saturn brings our karma of our life. It's you reap what you sow. Say if you had that in the 5th house and you were creating music all along, when you had your Saturn return, it could be easily spotted that, yes, this is going to be your moment. This is going to be when you really excel in your creative endeavors. Now, her natal Saturn is in retrograde. Saturn right now is in retrograde. That gives power to that. That's why her album hit #1. And these are massive accomplishments. Now, her natal Saturn is in the nakshatra Purva Bhadrapada. Now, I have a video about that where I talk about it is the dark side of the entertainment industry, of the elite, the dark occult. What I've noticed from people I know, from my own chart, from being in the music industry, D9 chart, my sun is in Purva Bhadrapada. My producer that I used to work with was a Grammy Award winner. He also had sun in Purva Bhadrapada. Kanye West has a placement there as well. I can't remember which one. A lot of people are in the music industry have this placement. Either they gravitate towards it because that is their calling, or they are picked based on these nakshatras because these people have intense spiritual powers. And being in the 5th house, that comes from a past life. Being in retrograde, that means she came to redo this. So this is a nakshatra also of sacrifice. I've noticed this nakshatra is used in occultism as a nakshatra of human sacrifice. Now, I'm not saying that she made a human sacrifice. I don't know that. I'm not going to speak ill about people and I don't know them. I mean, as in, a lot of them have to sacrifice a lot to be in the industry. They have to sacrifice themselves and for pleasing the elite. I've seen a lot of people that I know get blacklisted out of nowhere. Just like Kanye West, the same thing. I've seen them get blacklisted, things of that nature. So it is a very deep nakshatra that I could talk about forever about how it is the dark occult. Also, the Lord of the 11th house of gains in the 1st, with the aspects of Ketu on there and Rahu in the 7th house, is bringing her massive gains money-wise. And we have Mars and Jupiter in the 2nd house. That brings massive wealth because her 2nd house is ruled by Scorpio. So these are the reasons why the money is coming in. The main reason is the Dasha system. The Dasha system is the chapters of our lives. It breaks it down and it gives you the energy of that planet. So Rahu Dasha, it is a period of time which lasts 18 years. And she started that Dasha in 2017. According to Wikipedia, her first song blew up in 2018. So it started in 2017, the song blew up in 2018, but she was signed in 2014. So I want you to understand that your chart may seem that it's perfect to be famous, right? It may have all the aspects, but it's not going to be activated until you're in that period of time. So before that, she was in Mars, and Mars is in her second house. So Mars didn't have that ability to bring her to the front, which makes me wonder and makes me suspect that people do sign you, shelf you, keep you signed until they know that you're going to blow up, and then they put your music out. So she has a great chart to be seen. And when you're in Rahu Dasha, which is in her first house, conjunct her sun, when you're in a Dasha of the first house, that is going to bring you to the top. Rahu is also the co-lord of her 5th house of entertainment and her 12th house of spirituality, which we can see all working in the mix. Rahu brings you to the top. It lets you see what it's like to be ultra rich, on top, obsessed about money, obsessed about fame, doing anything to accomplish it. That's what Rahu does. But Rahu is also your ego, and Rahu can actually destroy you if you're not careful. So it's very important if you're in Rahu Dasha to keep your ego in check, because you can become very materialistic. You can lose all sense of who you really are. It's not as detrimental to someone who has already Rahu in the first house, who already lives with that type of energy, but it still affects people. So you can see that this change was slowly happening. And then once the nodes went into the first house, that really, really activated it. When her song blew up, Rahu was in her 10th house, bringing her to the top. And when she was in Rahu Dasha, so that activated it. Rahu can bring you around a lot of seedy individuals, a lot of people who are very materialistic, very obsessed with, like I said, fame and power. It's giving you lessons about power. What are you going to do when you have power? How are you going to act when you have power? How are you going to treat people? These are the lessons. Rahu gets in the mind of a person and they become like a possessed person. I have so many clients who come to me because of Rahu. They don't understand what's going on. A lot of them think that someone did some black magic on them. People who are in Rahu Dasha, Ketu Dasha, Jupiter Dasha are very susceptible to black magic. And it's actually very easy to do. So imagine what these occultists in the entertainment industry can do if I know how to do that. It's very easy to control a person's mind and their ego, because they're just naturally an ego, and it does feel like you're possessed. It feels like this person is not the same person. Yeah, and they won't be the same person when they have this nodal half return and when they have a Saturn return. You are maturing, but the industry is very hard to mature in. They try to keep you at a very immature level. Also, this is the dasha of her Atmakarka. Her Atmakarka is Rahu. Atmakarka is your soul's purpose. So everybody has that in their chart. The planet with the highest degree is your soul's purpose. So when you go through a time period of that planet, now you're about to reach your soul's purpose. And so at that same time, Saturn is the significator of her career. So we have Saturn activated at the same time with her Saturn return. And I do believe she's in Rahu Saturn as well. So this is both activating the soul's purpose, and how do we achieve the soul's purpose is by the career. So activating both. Now you could have your soul's purpose and never enter that dasha. So you actually never accomplish your soul's purpose. Not everybody does. It's just when you're born, there's different chapters. They're not all the same for everybody. So it's very interesting. So it shows that the career is meant to be in Purva Bhadrapada, in the 5th house, entertainment. That is her career. That's what it's meant to do. She's supposed to see the dark side of the elite. She's supposed to have a career among that. That is part of her mission. Now, there's different ways. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are supposed to, like for her it is, but if you have that nakshatra, it doesn't mean that you're supposed to be a black magician or in the darker side of things. There's many different ways. That could be morticians, doing makeup on the dead. There's many different things, but working with the darker aspects of life. Like for me, for example, being an occultist, practicing tantra, these are the ways that I funnel this energy of Purva Bhadra. It depends on your level of consciousness. Depends on how much spiritual work you did to really understand how you can have this energy play out. So those are the main reasons. There's many reasons, but those are the main reasons why she seems very different. Everyone changes when they go in Rahu Dasha. You won't recognize. If you look at any of my old videos from about anyone before January of this year, that was Rahu Dasha, and you will see the difference in how I am now versus how I was. A lot of people in Rahu Dasha start drinking, addictions, smoking. I used to smoke cigars. All of this, it's about the neon lights. That's Rahu. It's about sexuality, dark sexuality, all of these things. So you'll see that a lot of people, myself, I was human trafficked during this time. This is when I did music as well. And so these things go hand in hand because the music industry is very dark and full of human trafficking. And I counsel a lot of people who go through this during Rahu Dasha as well, because they're easily susceptible. That's just a little bit about what I see. I really thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of you, and I'll see you in the next one.